And so we are going to start our conversation. So everybody feel free to drop in the chat what you know about this topic, how you feel about it, some of the questions that you might have. So as even the speakers, as they go ahead, they can definitely be able to address. Most welcome Amanda and Fabiana and Teko, who are our program lead as well at the Land Accelerator. So at this particular time, I wish to give Dominic, to whom we are co-hosting this session, just to be able to say a word, as well as introduce us to our main speaker for the day, who is Ramzy. So Dominic Chanyenga, from all the way from Malawi. Welcome, my brother.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samuel. My name is Dominic Chanyenga. I'm working within the MCHF project as private sector engagement specialist. So I'm not a very expert with a lot of experiences in the cooking sector, but Ramzy, who is our chief of party, has been in the space for quite some time. So I'll pass it over to Ramzy. Before I do that, I need to introduce you our partners. We are in the project. We are working with several partners. So we're working with those who are producing a legal licensed charcoal. That includes Tanya Clarke, who is the CEO of Kawandama Plantation, which is up north of Malawi, and they have a plantation there which they are using to produce essential oils, and have charcoal as a byproduct. We also have, we're also working with several partners in the improved cookstoves. So Mbumba comes from UpEnergy. It's a company, and it's an international company, which is producing cookstoves plus other things that they're distributing in the localities. Yeah, so at this point in time, I think I'll pass it over to Ramzy, who will take us through the opportunities, will give us an overview of the sector, as well as opportunities that are existing in the space. So over to you, Ramzy. Thank you so much, Samuel.
Thank you, Samuel and Dominic, and thanks to everyone who's joined. I apologize in advance. I'm filling in for a few colleagues here, so I don't have a very well prepared presentation, but I will provide the background on the cooking energy subsector in Malawi and sort of the rationale for investment in cleaner cooking energies and cleaner cooking technologies, and certainly legal licensed charcoal or sustainable charcoal and improved charcoal stoves as key components of that cleaner cooking transition. So for those who are not familiar with Malawi and the context here, in Malawi, it's approximately 97% of the population that rely on wood fuels, and that includes firewood and charcoal. It's about 80% of the population is rural and with a heavy reliance on firewood. Approximately 20% of the population in urban areas with a predominant reliance on charcoal. And historically, all of the charcoal available in Malawi has been produced illegally and unsustainably. Excuse me, I'm getting some feedback there. In 2017, we began working with the government of Malawi to try to address the charcoal-led deforestation problem. And as part of that effort, we worked with the government through the Department of Forestry and the Department of Energy Affairs to develop an integrated approach to addressing charcoal-led deforestation. And that was called the National Charcoal Strategy. And that strategy identified 5 technical pillars and 2 cross-cutting pillars that worked to address the charcoal-led deforestation crisis from the supply side and the demand side. That included efforts to increase the availability of alternative cooking and heating energies, specific efforts to increase the supply and the use of legal licensed charcoal to improve regulation along in the forestry sector and along the charcoal value chain, and then other efforts looking at sustained growth in the rural landscapes and some cross-cutting areas that included a large focus on improving livelihoods. As a project, our focus, or as a development focus, we've chosen to focus largely on illegal and unsustainable charcoal. And even though the large majority of Malawians cook with firewood, from data that we've collected and data that others have collected, we know that for the most part, that use of rural firewood is not degrading on the forest resource, on the biomass stocks. So people from around their home are using less wood than those trees and those forests produce on an annual basis. And that's markedly different from charcoal, where, at least in charcoal production in Malawi, the whole tree is harvested and a fair amount of that tree is lost in the conversion to charcoal. Our traditional kilns are converting at around 8 to 12%. So we use an average of 10% charcoal per input of wood. So if people have 1,000 kgs of wood, they're producing approximately 100 kgs of charcoal. Our focus in supporting the government and working with the private sector to address the charcoal-led deforestation crisis from the demand side has been to promote a wide range of alternative cooking energies and fuel-efficient cooking technologies. And when I say a wide range, it's really a very wide range. It's everything from LPG. We tried to promote, to pilot some activities with ethanol, but the conditions weren't supportive. We work with alternative biomass stoves and sustainable pellets. We work with people like Tanya and KHP and Mbumba and UpEnergy, who are promoting legal licensed charcoal and improved charcoal stoves. We firmly believe, or we believe with confidence, that biomass energies, while the government has a long-term vision to move people away from biomass energies, we know that in the interim, over the next 10 or 20 years at least, biomass energies will continue to be a predominant part of the energy mix. At present, biomass energies are estimated to account for 80% of Malawi's total primary energy production and primary energy supply. So if we put all of the energy on a scale and we look at Malawi's hydropower production, Malawi's solar, diesel generators, et cetera, and we compare that to firewood, charcoal, and biomass, the firewood, charcoal, and biomass outweigh the other sources 4 to 1. As a project, I'll say we've tried to identify different ways to promote these different alternatives. We've designed and are implementing a performance-based grant fund, a results-based finance, form of results-based finance that tries to prioritize and invest in local solutions that can be sustained beyond the life of the grant. We're also working broadly with a range of private partners outside of grant support in a number of ways. We undertook a charcoal survey, and we tried to make that compliant with CDM requirements, and we published those results, made them open access, and that's helped to attract a number of investors into the sector, including UpEnergy, who Mbumba Mita-Chigalu is working with. And maybe I can leave it there for the introduction and the overview. It's a sector that's a country and a sector that's predominated by wood fuels in urban areas, predominated by charcoal. The percentages and the percentage of households that are reliant on illegal and unsustainable charcoal has been on the rise. I think we need to look at, if we're putting our thinking caps on and looking at long-term options or medium-term options, say over the next 3 to 7 years, what would I like to see happen? I would like to see, I would like to figure out a way to massively scale legal licensed charcoal production. I think this year Malawi will, maybe a couple of years, Malawi's gone from about 500 metric tons of legal licensed charcoal production to maybe next year 3,000 metric tons. But I'd like to think through a way where Malawi could get to 100,000 or 200,000 metric tons per year of legal licensed charcoal production. And similarly, there have been considerable gains in improved charcoal stove production in Malawi, and there is huge demand for those stoves, which save 30 to 40% of charcoal, so direct savings, expenditure savings for urban households. But I would like to find a way for Malawi, for those investments to move from sort of an artisanal scale of production where it's producing 600 or 1,000 stoves per month to more of an industrial form of production where the production can be increasingly efficient and can reach numbers of tens or 20,000, 10 to 20,000 stoves per month. Supplying not only the local demand in Malawi, but also reaching into neighboring Zambia and parts of Mozambique. So perhaps I can leave it there, Samuel.
Thank you so much, Ramzy, for that very great introduction and giving us a picture of what is actually happening in Malawi and the different interventions that the MCHF project is actually offering. Thank you also for the statistic. I'm sure with this information, it gives us a picture of where we actually want to go. In terms of, you did say that we are likely to use biomass energy for the next 20 years. So I was just wondering, with this information at hand, are there opportunities that you see that the entrepreneurs here can be able to tap into, be it on the sustainable charcoal production or legal charcoal production, or be it the usage of the alternatives?
Sure. Yeah, I think that there's opportunities for the private sector to tap into on both fronts. I'll start with stoves. So there's approximately 600,000, 500 to 600,000 urban households in Malawi, and virtually every one of those households uses charcoal, and the baseline stove is a version of the Kenyan Jiko stove, which was introduced to Malawi in the late 1980s or 1990s. It's really had no improvement since that time. So that's a relatively large consumer base that would require a new stove, let's say every 3 years, if you're making a really durable charcoal stove. And so that is a huge business opportunity. We found that stoves coming in from outside, some of the ultra efficient stoves have been very difficult to compete in the marketplace because of the added costs of customs duty, VAT, and transportation costs. But the locally produced stoves are competing really well in the marketplace, and I think Mbumba will talk about it, and there's other producers who could talk about they're selling all the stoves that they're producing at this point, whether that's 500 a month or 1,000 or 2,000 a month, but the potential is just huge. And on legal licensed charcoal, I would say even this year, I think the legal production will peak out at somewhere around 2,000 metric tons. And I think half of that will be met by Kawandama Hills Plantation, who's represented here today by Tanya, Clarke. But that still represents a fraction of 1% of urban demand for charcoal. So, the market exists. There is a bit of a segmented market now with some of the industries that are using charcoal paying a higher price. And there's just a huge potential to meet that demand, especially, and maybe I should have added in the beginning, I mean, our whole as a project, our theory of change is centered around regulation and enforcement. And we've been working with the government of Malawi to enhance regulation and enforcement. That involved work to revise the Forestry Act, come up with more stringent penalties, and then to roll those out through training and capacity building. And what we've seen over the last 2 years is are considerable gains in regulation and enforcement. There is still a lot of illegal activity, and there's still institutional corruption that's quite systemic. But the risk to offenders is considerably more than it's ever been. The cost of charcoal in urban markets has increased more than 50% in less than 2 years, and we feel like if the progress on regulation and enforcement is able to continue, we could get to a price point where it is actually advantageous for a consumer to cook with electricity or to cook with gas or to cook with something else. So yeah, maybe I can stop there.
Thank you so much, Ramzy. I'm just wondering whether anybody in the plenary do have any question for Ramzy from an expert point of view before we jump into this and to the different business models.
Well, I wanted to say I'm ready to have the panelists perhaps turn on their camera. I believe we have Mbumba, Tanya, and Yusuf joining us. And I know that some of these entrepreneurs are really trying hard to compete on cost, which is really exciting, because when we compete on cost, then everything is scaling up. So I see Mbumba, thank you so much for turning on your camera, and I'll pass this back to Samuel, who might be prepared to moderate the rest of this panel. And I see Yusuf also with his hand up.
Yes, Yusuf is right there. Thank you so much. I see also Kojo is also there. Yeah, thanks so much for turning on your video. Ramzy, we really appreciate the overview that you have given us, because it's going to introduce us to the next session, where we now get to hear real experiences from these grateful entrepreneurs working with the local communities on the ground. And these are the people who are actually tapping into the opportunities that we have actually shared. Two of them are from Malawi, and Yusuf is actually from Ethiopia. So we are happy to hear from them. Maybe I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and just to share what is their business model, how does it look like? And then we'd be able to deep dive on the opportunities and also the challenges, and what is the future projection for their businesses, and should they encourage others to venture into this. Mbumba, maybe we can start with you. Just a brief introduction about you and your company and your business models.
Okay, thanks, Samuel. Hi, everybody. My name is Mbumba Mita-Chigalu. I'm from UpEnergy Group. I'm the stakeholder policy and relationship manager at UpEnergy. UpEnergy has been in operation for 11 years now, but in Malawi, we only started operating last year in September. To date, we've sold over 6,000 stoves, and we intend to sell at least 60,000 in the year 2022. Our current model involves us having manufacturers make the stoves locally. So we train locals to manufacture the stoves. We buy the stoves off them, and we sell them off at a subsidized price through our own sales agents and also through external sales agents. External sales agents are afforded commissions just to motivate them to continue selling for us. Currently, as Ramzy had alluded, we've worked very closely with Modern Cooking for Healthy Forests. Sorry, here in Zambia, we also have alternatives to charcoal, which we're working with. But in Malawi, we're working with Modern Cooking for Healthy Forests, who've actually really helped us increase help to increase production for our teams, and also actually make more sales by affording us platforms like market days across the country. And in all those market days, we've always oversold and even had more orders paid for in advance. So that just goes to testify to the fact that the demand is there. People are looking for alternatives to save, as he mentioned, on the cost of cooking. And our stove is one such vehicle to help them make such savings. Thank you. I don't know if I've missed anything.
That's clear. Thanks so much. Yeah, indeed. There's a high demand for the cooking stove. That's what I'm actually getting from you. Perhaps as we move forward, I would be happy to know about the technology. Is it different, or what is the unique feature with the cooking stove that you have? So thank you so much. Tanya, maybe I can come to you.
Hi there. My name is Tanya Clarke from Kawandama Hills. Yeah, so we are a 7,500 hectare essential oil plantation. We are up in the north of Malawi. We plant our own trees, more specifically Corymbia citridora, for the production of lemon eucalyptus oil that we largely export to UK, South Africa, the US. Sort of our background is in sort of natural insect repellents, but our oil goes into, you know, cosmetics, fragrance, perfumes, cleaning products. So it's quite a wide, diverse product. But obviously it just takes time to grow. So the sustainable aspect of our forestry is the fact that we raise our own seedlings ourselves. We plant trees on our own land. We tend them, we protect them, and then we manage them for around 25 years plus. And we manage them sustainably so that we prune the leaves for the oil, and then we use 4-year-old sort of bowls, the tree bowls, for the charcoal. And then the tree, we cut that, and then the tree regenerates. Our business model primarily is for the oil, so we want the tree to be quite bushy for the leaf biomass. But now with the charcoal program being so robust, we're actually relooking at all of that again, so that we can make sure that we produce as much wood as possible as well. We plant at quite a high density at around 3,000 trees per hectare. So, I mean, we've planted around 6 million trees since 2009. And we're actually planting more even annually. So we're very, very committed to tree planting. It's not easy to tree plant. I mean, it's relatively easy to actually raise a seedling and get it in the ground. But actually, the biggest job, like raising a child, is tending and protecting it and actually seeing it into, you know, to full growth and maturity, and actually producing what you want in a sustainable manner, making sure that you can actually be empirically looking at the tree through, you know, and using your experience and your knowledge to actually gauge whether you really should be pruning this year or whether you shouldn't, and whether the charcoal is dense enough, and, you know, and obviously the quality is right. So we have basically kind of like a core cash product, and the charcoal was the byproduct. But as we've moved on, as I say, with the work that the Forestry Department and MCHF and USAID and TetraTech have done, and also the pressures now on illegal charcoal, definitely we've seen a massive spike in sales. We've got about 6 container outlets. We use a container model, so we have kind of a bit of a lock up and go container situation where we have one in Mzuzu, which is in the north, and the other 5 are in Lilongwe. We also use outlets, retail outlets, to sell the charcoal. And yeah, I mean, at the moment we're selling out sort of within about 10 days actually of delivery. So we're under quite a lot of pressure. Our plantation is big, but we're still tree planting. So there's still quite a lot of development work to be done. And yeah, we're just working really hard to try and make sure that we just plant as many trees as we can over the next couple of years to reach our target of 3,200 hectares of citridora planted. Dispersed in our plantation are very large pockets of natural indigenous forest. Absolutely stunning location. We've got, you know, hyena, leopards, you know, honey badgers, an amazing array of birds, and we really try our best to preserve and protect those, even to the extent actually that we engaged 12 poachers this year very hard to do because obviously they think, they don't want to engage you. They think they're going to be arrested. But we actually used our local chiefs. We got them round a table, 12 of them round a table, and tried to come up with some solutions so that they didn't come into our plantation and start fires, which was a big problem. Is a big problem when you're managing, forestry on a large scale. So I think our main competitor in the space is Brazil. I think, we can learn a lot from Brazil. They also produce large, quantities of charcoal for industry. And, I think that there's a lot that we can learn from countries like Brazil. And obviously we need to just get more trees in the ground, and not just trees in the ground, but also see them actually survive to produce, for longevity. We use the beehive kilns in order to produce our charcoal. And we sort of have many of these kilns basically that we're producing around 200 or so kilos per kiln at a time. But we're also looking at some of the larger brick retorts that we did see one in Mutare, Zimbabwe, actually quite some years back. So we're looking at options to produce a much larger quantity of, of charcoal in one go, as well as using our half orange kilns, which we understand the procedure, and the quality of the charcoal is good. So we definitely love our half orange kilns, but we're also looking at ways to do larger volumes of charcoal in one kind of retort system. We did go to China a few years ago. We looked at some of the metal retorts there. The issue that we had with those is that the price was quite high. The investment was quite high. And also a lot of the sort of the tars would get stuck in the channels, because that is a byproduct. If you, kind of condense that down, the tar is a byproduct, and the wood vinegars as well, which can be used for treatment of poles. So there is even another byproduct that you could be making if you had a more advanced system of burning the wood into charcoal. So that tar issue is that's something that a problem that we came across some of these advanced sort of units. So we have our agents as well. We have 2 agents at the moment. We have one really pushing us hard down in Blantyre in the south. So we're really sort of, trying to manage all the different sort of interests. And I think people can see good business opportunities. We're selling out. So I think, we are planning to do our 877 tons this year. We're planning to grow up to around 4,000 tons.
Tanya, we'll definitely get there. Thanks so much.
Okay.
We certainly get there to be able to understand the technology that you're currently using. What are your goals for the future? We'll certainly get there, but thanks so much for introducing your company and getting to know the different business model that you actually engage into. Yusuf, I'm looking at you, and behind you is a man stepping on cooking stuff. So maybe you may want to start from there. Welcome, Yusuf.
Thank you very much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Yusuf Tura. I'm a founder of Obama Stove, the second largest cook stove in Africa. We were number 1 until Burn came along and established a big company in Kenya. So we've been building cook stove since 2007. In case if you are wondering about the name, originally from Ethiopia, I went to the state as a refugee. And when I came back to Ethiopia in 2007, I've seen my village, my families, the way they cook the food. I wanted to do something. And we started building stuff. It's a company that was founded by accident, believe it or not. And people thought it was sent by Obama, so hence the name. The name stuck. And we build charcoal stoves, wood stoves, electric stoves, and institutional stoves. We have built, sold, and delivered over 500,000 stoves year to date. We have created a job opportunity for many local villagers, especially the ceramists, because we combine the way Obama is so unique. It encompasses 2 parts. The cladding, which is done by local artisans, and the combustion chamber, which is done by women in the villages, in different villages. So we combined those two and produced the most efficient cook stove in the area. Right now, Obama is the #1 selling cook stove, and we are at the scale. And I like to keep it as short as possible because I want to just give you a little bit hint, and then we'll be opening for questions. For anyone that is aspiring to build cook stove, the secret is in doing it. Don't overcomplicate it. If you are in land restoration, or if you are a social entrepreneur in any business in Africa, you already know there is unlimited opportunity in cook stove and briquettes. We do also make briquettes. So the secret is in doing it. Everybody needs an efficient cook stove. We know half of the world population, especially in Africa, they still use an open fire to cook the food. And there's no problem with the market. So I will just leave it for a question. If you have a question, I'll be more than happy to help in any way that I can. And if you want to contact me via email, I love mentoring people. I love sharing my experiences. I'm passionate about what I do. A cook stove is all about passion. If you like to help people, if you want to make a change, and also if you like to cook like me and eat food, then there you go. So I'll be opening for questions to just keep it as short as possible. I don't want to waste more of your time, Sam. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. Yeah, indeed, don't overcomplicate it, just do it. Yusuf, from that point of do it, I'm here, I'm green, I don't know where to start. What next? Where should the one be able to start? And I don't know where is Mbumba. What do I need to consider? What are some of the factors of production that one should be able to consider?
The first thing would be to really look at your own house. What do you use currently to cook? If you are in Africa, if you're living in Africa, are you using electricity? Are you using are you using briquettes or charcoal or fire? What are you using? What are your neighbors are using? What are the villages that are using? Go to the marketplace, see what's on the market. You will have telltale signs. Whatever sells the most will be at the display. The market will tell you everything that you know. That would be a good place to start. Second, do some research. Thank God for the internet. Nowadays, this is a global village. This is a universe, go on YouTube, see what's out there. What are people are making? What is selling? Remember, a lot of stove companies, they overcomplicate it. In my opinion, a lot of people that want to jump into cook stove and briquettes, it's like this hesitation, this fear in analysis, of analysis paralysis. Maybe I'm just not as smart because I don't like to waste my time on analyzing. It's the secret in just doing it. Look around you. What is selling? What are people using to cook? Anywhere in Africa, there's a lot of similarity.
I wanted to share something with everybody right now. I think something that's really important that I learned from Looney, who everybody here knows Looney. He is also one of your investors through Africa Eats. I think he told us about how affordable your stoves are and how you got your stoves to be so affordable by probably working with your local marketplace, looking at what kind of supplies there are. So I just wanted to maybe share that with people, because we see so many, I'm going to say Western companies coming in and saying, oh, this stove does everything and it's only $70. What is your business model, Yusuf, with regards to this?
The business model is, to me, is like, I don't like to complicate things. Those are not sustainable. We know the income. I mean, the people in this region, they live on less than $2 a day. And most people won't afford it. Making affordable stove actually is a more sensible way to make even money. You see, by keeping my stove cheaper, I was managed to pretty much take over any other competition that is in town. I'm affordable. I keep my price as reasonable as possible. Everybody that is part of this team is a team player because we have all at stake. The artisans or the ceramists, they understand our business models. It's a grassroots approach. And currently, where we are is like almost 80% of our business is repeat and referral businesses. We're selling just as much as we make, and we can't even keep up. Actually, I'm having a hard time keeping up with the demand. We've been doing this for 10 years, building reliable, efficient, affordable. Just because you make it cheap, it doesn't mean that you can't make money. Think of Walmart. They're making money. I mean, they have a cheaper product, but nevertheless, they wouldn't be the biggest retailers in America. I mean, just making the profit margin reasonable. So I do a volume business. Rather than selling few stoves, I sell ton of stoves and the profit will come.
Amazing, Yusuf. Thank you so much. Targeting the bottom of the pyramid for your cook stuff. Buba, I don't know whether the same applies to you. Maybe you may want to talk about the pricing as well as the technology that you're actually using.
Indeed, the same applies to us. Currently, we're selling the stove at $7, which is less than the production cost. I mentioned that we do subsidize the cost of production using carbon. We sell off carbon credits which are generated from the use of the stove, and that's what we use for operations and actually to make up the difference from the production cost, thereby making the stove much more affordable for the end user. So just like he said, like Yusuf mentioned, the best way to get the stove out there, to get people using it, is actually to reduce the cost, make the stove as affordable as possible, because most of our users cannot afford high tier stoves, and the stove is as simple as possible. Being made locally also allows us to remove the cost of taxation and transportation and so forth. Sure.
Thank you so much. I'm just wondering then, if there is no subsidy from the carbon, what would it cost for one cook stove?
Our stove would cost anything between $25 to $30 without the subsidy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And as you can see on the screen, those are some of the pictures for Yusuf's cooking stove. Thank you so much, Yusuf, for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
I see Hussein hand is up, but before we get to you, Hussein, maybe I could come back to Tanya to tell us more about legal charcoal. Maybe Tanya, from the word legal, so there is the government involved. I don't know how is the process in Malawi, and I would love if the rest of the people can tell us what is happening in their country.
Thanks. I'll keep this one short because I did say quite a bit in the introduction. Yeah, no, I think you just have to, we lobbied the government in 2013 to consider legal charcoal. We finally got the license in October 2015 through the Department of Forestry. So yeah, anybody who wants to get a license in Malawi just goes to the Department of Forestry in Lilongwe. They have to obviously, do a presentation, make their case as to why the charcoal is sustainable. Is it coming from a sustainable source? Is it coming from a community woodlot? Is it coming from, sort of agricultural waste? Yeah, and then, I think that the forestry department they're keen to have more license holders on board. So I think there's lots of opportunities, at least here in Malawi. I think the biggest thing with briquettes is also the energy that it takes to make them. And with our power cuts in Malawi at the moment, that can be a bit of an issue. But there are other less intensive ways to make briquettes. And obviously the lump charcoal is widely used and widely loved as a cooking source. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. You had started to talk about your technology and especially on the mass production of charcoal. Maybe you can take a few minutes to finalize on that. And then I wish to welcome anybody with any question. So we are getting to that section. Feel free to raise your hand or drop it on the chat. Tanya?
Yeah, so just as I said, we did some trials initially on different retorts and kilns, and we ended up choosing the beehive kiln, which you can see on our social media, I'm sure. And yeah, it's a very it's a bit of an art, but it's a relatively easy way of making quite a lot of charcoal, depending on how much wood you have available. Much more efficient ways of making it as well. We're getting a very good wood to charcoal ratio. But as I say, as you're getting now to 1,000 tons plus a year, really ideally you wanted to have something that's a little bit bigger. And I mean, I look for, and we're already doing some research on that. And we're already discussing with MCHF and a few other players on, sort of some of these other systems, still using bricks, not necessarily using metal. But yeah, just a way to, sort of circulate the air effectively so that you have an even carbonization of the wood. So I think there's still a bit of work to do, especially to find kind of, Africa adapted kiln technology. But we are, we're very passionate about that. So we're looking into it already.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanya. Very great presentation. And I'll be so happy to actually see the technology that you're currently using, because one of our beneficiaries from the land accelerator has actually received a license to do legal charcoal here in Kenya. And he's actually looking at technology where he can actually do mass production of charcoal. So I'll be so happy. And feel free to drop on the chat if you have those pictures of the social media or a link to the name of the technology. We are open to question, and I see Hussein hand is up. In the meantime, let's also use the chat room. And Awar Otieno, I see you. I know you are also in the business of cooking stuff here in Kenya. I would love to hear what you're doing different and whether you have any question to any of the presenters. Hussein? You're on mute if you're trying to speak, sir.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I have two questions. The first question is, people make charcoal locally. They just dig the ground and put soil on it. And most of the time, the wood burn and they lose a lot of charcoal. If there is any developed technology to not to make waste, the people stay overnight and waiting. That's the first question. My second question to Yusuf is, in my area, Highland, southern Ethiopia, people use animal dung. They just dry the dung and use. And we also use wood on open. I never come across improved stove for animal dung and for wood. There is stove for charcoal. Is there any information on wood stove to save energy?
Thank you so much, Hussein. Yes, Yusuf, do you want to respond to the questions?
Yes. I'm assuming that Hussein is probably from Ethiopia, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes, good. I'll send you my email. You can contact me. But let me tell you this. Yes, we actually make a firewood stove too. It's a rocket stove technology, which is simple. There are so many other stuff that you can handcraft. If you are a craftsman, you can craft just about any stove that you want. As far as cow dung, yes. For example, you can use, it's good that you are in Ethiopia. I'll be more than happy. You can even come to the workshop and see how we do it. And you can actually use a cow dung in our stove too. Believe it or not. In fact, you can even mix it with a charcoal, which will allow you to even save more if that's what you were alluding to. But if you wanted to know, if you're thinking about charring or making charcoal, there are so many information out there on internet. But building kiln might be one of the way to do it. You'll be a little bit more efficient. Keep in mind, it's all about cost. It will cost you a little bit of money. That's why a lot of people, the traditional people, are just making charcoal, just the way they were making it for eons. It has to do with the cost. So kiln would be a good alternative, or you could use many other things, and I'll be more than happy to provide you that information to just save the group a time. Contact me via email, or I can give you we already got, I can send you my number. You can talk to me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hussein, for that question. I'm wondering whether there is anybody else with a question. And I see very good conversation going on the chat. Maybe Amanda, I don't know whether you want to ask question, and perhaps we can get Ramzy respond.
Oh, sure. Ramzy and also others too. My question was, can these clean cook stoves, I think that Mbumba is making, that Yusuf's making, can they work with any kind of charcoal, illegal or illegal? Knowing that, I think the answer is yes. Have you guys expanded into partnerships? Has Tanya looked into partnerships? What's the role of partnerships in kind of offering a package that people can, you know, cook in their house, not get the smoke in their lungs and their eyes, get the flavor they want, and also not deforest? What kind of partnerships do you suggest there? And what kind of partnerships are you guys perhaps currently looking for?
On our end, currently, it's one of the things that we intend to do. Currently with MCHF, that's Ramzy's organization, when we're doing the marketing activities, we're all selling together at the same place. So and the messaging is really about, you can actually use this in the stove. So I think that's one of the great roles that MCHF is playing in Malawi, in allowing us to actually be on the same place, allowing us to make the sales together side by side, and just helping us raise awareness on a larger scale, which we ordinarily wouldn't be able to do because of budget limitations.
And maybe I can just also come in and respond. So I think what we have seen in Malawi is that the proponents were originally, you know, somebody who's got a stove company would promote their stove. Somebody who has a legal licensed charcoal, is producing legal licensed charcoal, would promote their charcoal. I think what we've seen now is some innovation in the last mile distribution. So there are people who are, you know, opening up shops in high density areas, trying to set up sort of one-stop energy shops. And we've seen a number of people now who are, and I would classify them as early stage enterprises, you know, coming up with a proof of concept and testing it. And trying to figure out, you know, how to make money in the process. Maybe as Yusuf was discussing, where they carry 2 or 3 different types of legal licensed charcoal, 2 or 3 stoves. They probably also have some solar lamps or simple solar household technologies, not whole home systems, but simple lights and the like, and chargers. And they're retailing, and some of those people are retailing, for example, the KHP charcoal in urban high density neighborhoods of Lilongwe. So I think that's evolving organically, but more could be done to invest in those integrated distributions networks.
That sounds great. And I wonder, Yusuf, what countries are you active in? If you could just share that with us.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity again. Yeah, and you know, it comes natural. If you are building a cook stove, there shouldn't be any reason why you can't make briquettes. They complement each other. And yes, we have, for example, Obama Stove as a partner. We partnered up with Canico Briquettes in Mombasa. So as you can see on your screen, we actually offer a package deal, which is a great way to excite customers, because they're getting 2 package. You will have an opportunity not only to sell the stove or briquettes, but also to retain a customer. It's a new concept. Many vendors or many stove companies that I've seen in Mombasa, they don't do that. Based on this, we are also aspiring to partner up with another briquette company in Ghana and Uganda. So yeah, it's natural. If you are making a stove, if you're thinking about making a stove, from the get-go, start thinking about making briquettes too. There is nothing to it. Just go, you know, online and do some research. Like I say, if you wanna, it's just a one-on-one, maybe brainstorming, feel free to contact me. I'll be more than happy to share what I know. But combining those is the most effective marketing thing I've ever done.
Thank you so much, Yusuf.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, very great information right here. I believe everybody is getting inspired like I am with this sector. I'm quite new in this sector, but what I'm getting is that there's quite a lot of opportunities, and I'm looking at somebody like Florence who is doing briquettes. What I'm hearing is you may get a different business model to actually do cooking stuff, and the vice versa. I would feel uncomfortable if we finish this call without hearing your voice. You're also in this sector. Do you have a question or any comment, or perhaps what you do, you can share with us?
Thank you very much, Samuel, and thank you, Amanda, too, for organizing this very dear topic to me. I'm really passionate about cooking. Now, I want to ask the panelists, definitely the cost of the cooking is a big barrier because majority of the rural populations are the ones who depend so much on biomass for cooking, yet they do not have the money to spend. So the carbon credit for cookstove is a very, very hot topic because many entrepreneurs right here in Kenya do not have the information on how to go about benefiting from the carbon credits to subsidize. So I think I would just challenge the Land Accelerator program, maybe to just invite the same panelists again to talk about carbon credits for the cookstoves, to make the cookstoves more affordable to the community. And maybe just to add on to what Yusuf has said, it is very important that when you're doing the cookstove, add the fuel, because LPG gas comes with its stove, bioethanol comes with its stove, the electric pressure cooking appliances, they come with their stove. So if we are going to only do one, then we are going to encourage people to continue using charcoal, which we are trying to mitigate and stop people from destroying the forest, because we are not offering the alternative to charcoal. So that is something that we are very keen about, and I'm happy to hear that most of the other companies are also doing the same. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Awar. Thank you so much for that contribution. Indeed, I love that picture where you share about the alternatives and what actually they come with. There is the aspect of carbon credit, indeed true. Most of the cooking stuff are actually benefiting from this. I see time is not on our side, but Mbumba, you did mention that you're actually providing incentives thanks to the carbon credit cash. Maybe you may want to mention something small, but this is a discussion we can organize for another day.
Sure. We are not giving cash incentives, we are subsidizing the cost of the stove. So instead of the money going directly into the pocket of the beneficiary, what happens is we allow them to buy the stove at a reduced cost, and then the cost of distribution and all our operation costs, marketing, and so forth are then covered by the carbon credits. In addition to that, we also plow back into, for example, manufacturing. We support the manufacturers with a number of things, for example, safety equipment and so forth, just so that we continue to be able to provide this service. So with carbon trading, it's very intense, very information heavy. And I think, as you've said, it might require a separate session during which I can invite our head of carbon, because we actually have a division which has almost 20 employees who are just managing our carbon aspect within the business. So as she mentioned, it's not very easy to do, but if it's done right, you'll be able to realize the carbon credits. And it's not like once you generate the credits, then immediately they're verified and you get the cash. It might take 2, 3, 4, 5, even more years just to actually get the money back into your pocket. So as I said, I'm hoping that you can create a separate session, and I'll invite one of the members from the carbon team to speak more in depth about that.
Certainly. We will definitely organize one. So if you are here and you're interested in that discussion, feel free to reach out to us, and we can certainly connect you or bring a small group for a topic of deep dive. Ramzy?
Yeah, so I think that that was an excellent addition on carbon and the potential for carbon finance to support and scale cleaner cooking solutions. I will say I'm not a carbon expert, but in my experience, I've seen carbon benefit the companies largely and let's say accruing external benefits in a number of cases, and not really sustaining production and delivery through a market system in country. And I think that's something that in the latest round of the climate negotiations that people are trying to address, trying to make sure that carbon finance benefits either the beneficiary through a reduced price, as Mbumba discussed with UpEnergy approach, or in some other direct way, and that the benefits are accruing in country and are helping the people who are reducing carbon emissions or the sustainability of those market systems to get solutions into households. So I think that's still an area where the cleaner cooking community has additional gains to make, but I think that the direction is there now.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ramzy. I see we're on top of the hour, and yeah, as you can see, those are some of the pictures from Mbumba. Thanks so much. We're on top of the hour, and for us is just to introduce the conversation around these topics, and then we can be able to continue this conversation on the Mighty Networks. To be able to share, if you do have questions, feel free to write to us or to drop any question on the Mighty Network. If you'd be interested to join on our community of land restoration actors, feel free to reach out, and we can always add you to that community, and we can interact on the Mighty Network. So thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you so much, Ramzy, for creating time despite a busy schedule. We really appreciate. We want to thank you, Yusuf, Mbumba, and Tanya, for sharing your own experience. I believe this has been beneficial to everyone who have actually joined. You. And also thanks so much to Dominic for making this possible, as well as you, Amanda, and Fabiana. I don't know whether, Amanda, you have final remarks, and then we can call it a day.
Final remarks, we'll be putting the recordings up on Mighty Networks. I just put the link to join if you're not already joining, and you can see a lot of other recordings on different topics we hosted earlier this year as well. And if you scroll through the chat box quickly before we leave, you will also catch the email addresses of our 3 panelists, which I will also again put down here. So catch those, copy and paste that, open the link up on your browser before we leave. And we might want to invite everybody to, let's see, turn on their cameras and say hello, say goodbye to the energy in the room. So feel free to do a wave. See you guys.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay,
Thanks
bye.
for having us. Thank you.
Bye. It was so wonderful. Lovely.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yep. And don't forget to get the contact in the chat box. Contacts in the chat box. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. We'll also put the contacts on the Mighty Networks.
Sure thing.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.